Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dakota Meyer.
Thank you.
For Dakota Meyer, the Medal of Honor is a full-time job which keeps him on the road 20 or more days each month.
So we can go out and make a difference.
Here he is at a job fair for veterans in Quantico, Virginia.
When they told me that I would be receiving the Medal of Honor, I told them that I didn't want it because I don't feel like a hero. But then the president said something to me. He said, "It's bigger than you." And I never really thought about that until afterwards. And it is bigger than me. Thank you all so much. Yes, sir. You too.
Behind that jaunty air lies some of the toughest lessons any young man ever had to learn. First, there was the battle in a remote Afghan valley for which he received the medal.
Yeah, the worst day of my life.
A bloody 5-hour firefight which left 4 Marines and 1 soldier dead. This Pentagon animation recreated what happened. Meyer and his fellow Marines drove into a gauntlet of fire from up to 100 insurgents. He went back again and again, trying to reach buddies trapped in the ambush. But he didn't get there in time, and he has been haunted by that ever since.
I can never forget that I'm a failure, and it's in the face of the nation, not just me.
The Medal of Honor reflects the gratitude of the entire nation.
At last September's Medal of Honor ceremony, President Obama described Meyer's actions in heroic terms.
Today, we pay tribute to an American who placed himself in the thick of the fight, again and again and again.
In his own book, called Into the Fire, Meyer describes a brutal battle to the death.
How many do you think you killed?
It doesn't make a difference. I can tell you this, I didn't kill enough.
And you killed at least one of them with your bare hands.
Yeah.
It is not mentioned in his Medal of Honor citation because there were no witnesses. But as Meyer describes it, he was kneeling over the body of Dode Ali, an Afghan soldier and one of his best friends.
And then I just felt something hit me in the back of the head. And it was just like slow motion the whole time. And I just remember turning around to look, and there was a guy standing above me with a huge beard, you know? And he had an AK-47, and I was like, what do I do now?
Meyer knew one thing.
I was going to make this son of a bitch kill me. I wasn't going to go get my head chopped off on TV.
He fired from the hip.
I remember squeezing the trigger on my 203, and it hit the guy right in the chest.
203 is the grenade launcher.
The grenade launcher.
But the grenade didn't go off, and the 2 men fought hand to hand.
I just remember my hand grabbing a rock, and I just got him, and it's just like, it's like after I knocked him out to get him off of me, it's just like I couldn't stop. Like it's just like all the anger from that day, it just went straight into him. I mean, it's just like I couldn't do enough to get rid of this guy.
When the battle finally ended, Meyer was filled with grief for his lost men and rage that air and artillery support which had been promised was too long in coming. The Marines decided they had to get him out of Afghanistan.
They sent me home early.
And why did they send you home early?
They said that basically I was wound too tight and that, you know, I needed it. What they wanted to do for precautionary measures was send me to, to get some help for a PTSD rehab center.
Hopefully it ain't been up too bad.
Meyer got some post-traumatic stress counseling and moved back in with his father Mike on the farm where he grew up in the Kentucky hills.
And then you come home to this peaceful place in the country. Mm-hmm. What was that like coming home?
Oh, a shocker. It's hard living here. It's easy being deployed. It's easy fighting, you know, because it's simple. Like, war simplifies life in my mind.
Meyer was home, but his father could see the war was still with him.
He made me get new locks on the doors, make sure the house was locked up every night. He'd always want to have 1 or 2 guns in every vehicle.
So he always wanted a weapon close?
Really close.
Even when he slept?
Yes, sir.
Did he sleep with a weapon?
Yes, sir. On his chest.
Really?
For 3 months.
Did you try to talk to anybody about it?
I mean, what's there to talk about?
Get it out of your own brain and into somebody else's.
Why bother somebody else with it? It's just part of it.
Believing he had become a burden to his family, Meyer turned to the bottle. One night driving home, he stopped his truck and pulled out a gun.
And I was just like, I'm done. And I always kept my pistol in my Trailblazer, and I squeezed the trigger in amazement that there was nothing left. There was nothing in it.
You put the gun to your head?
Yeah.
And pulled the trigger?
Yeah.
Click.
Click. It's the loudest click you'll ever hear.
Do you know why there wasn't a round in that chamber?
Well, I can state the obvious reason that somebody took it out.
So after the click, did you come to your senses?
Oh, you sobered up instantly. You'd be surprised.
Was that the low point?
Oh yeah, you don't get any lower than that.
Trying to put his life back together, Meyer cut back on the drinking and went to work doing construction. 18 months later, the White House contacted him to say the president wanted to talk about the Medal of Honor.
They told me, well, you'll be receiving a phone call and that you need to be on a landline an hour prior, comm checks every 15 minutes, and I said, hey, I can't do that. Well, why not? Well, I have to work, but he can call my cell phone.
So we arranged to make sure he got the call during his lunch break. Dakota's the kind of guy who gets the job done. And I do appreciate, Dakota, you taking my call.
He did more than that. He wondered if he could come over for a beer. Sitting in the Rose Garden, Meyer asked his commander-in-chief what he should do with his life.
Whether you support him or not, nobody can ever look at him and say he's not a successful man.
Yeah.
So that's what I just wanted to ask him. What are some tips to be successful?
And what did he tell you?
He's definitely said, he emphasized on education.
Since then, he's set up a scholarship fund for children of wounded Marines.
How much have you raised?
$1.2 million.
1.2 million.
We're giving out 10 scholarships this year.
He's still a 20-something whose idea of a good time is zipping across the family farm in his ATV. But he's a 20-something with a highway named after him and a tribute to his medal in the middle of town. If you think that's living the dream, take a look at Meyer's blog from last May. They say time heals all wounds, but for me it seems the more time that has passed, the harder it gets. My brothers, my best friends are gone forever.
I have 4 guys, my team, that died that day that hold me accountable, and as long as they're not looking at me saying, Dakota, what are you doing? And that's all that matters.
So what do you think they're thinking about you right now?
I mean, they're with me every day, I think they're standing next to me and pushing me on.